Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. Braves opening day. By this time tomorrow, the Braves will be 1-0 against the Philadelphia Phillies. Yes, I'm already calling. You know, I'm all about the bold predictions when it comes to this Atlanta Braves. Spencer Strider toes the rubber against Zach Wheeler. Probably the best pitching matchup you could possibly ask for. I think if you look around the league, I haven't looked around the league at everyone, but you usually got ones versus ones. So you got ace versus ace in most of these matchups. I don't think there's a better ace versus ace matchup because for my money, these are the two best pitchers in the National League, Spencer Strider and Zach Wheeler. And that's probably my biggest storyline. Best versus best. You got the changing of the guard in Atlanta. You got the old veteran. You got two guys that have had a ton of success against each other. Zach Wheeler has dominated the Braves, especially recently. Go back to the playoff games. Go back. I think he has a 12-7 record with a close to 3.15 ERA. Then Spencer Strider on the other side. We know about the postseason struggles a couple years ago, but he's not 8-0 in 8 starts or 8 appearances, 7 starts with a 1.9 ERA and a 13.5 K9. It couldn't get better. If you love pitching, it couldn't be a better matchup to start off the season.
Yeah, it's where it ended last year for the Braves. And, you know, the Phillies may act like they're all big and bad and too good for the Atlanta Braves, but they're getting up for this one. It's the second most expensive opening day ticket behind the Rangers. And it's going to be a madhouse up there at Citizens Bank because they don't like Spencer Strider. We don't like those guys. Obviously, the next storyline's to snit comments. It's just got all the makings for an absolute masterclass, especially with those two guys on the mound.
Yeah, it's going to be a zoo. And, I don't know. I think maybe because I talk a lot about Philadelphia, a lot of my social media, especially on TikTok, is Philadelphia Sports Radio. And they don't pick any bones. They don't beat around the bush. They hate the Atlanta Braves. They want to win this division almost as much as they want to win a World Series. They want to conquer the Atlanta Braves. It is very important to them. So don't let them tell you that it isn't. This is going to be a zoo-like playoff atmosphere to start off the season. And for the two reasons you just mentioned. One, they do not like Spencer Strider. They are so happy he is going to get the first start of the season in Philadelphia. That's like a dream matchup for them. Two, you have Brian Snitker coming out. We talked about it last week, coming out and saying, you know, they were so mean to his wife and his kids that he will never bring them back. Philadelphia fans also aren't happy that Snitker, let's be real, he has used the excuse a few times talking about the playoff format and how it doesn't benefit the Atlanta Braves. They think he's just making excuses. I think there's something to it. I think most people think there's something to it, but it doesn't really matter because it happened and they lost. And Philadelphia Phillies fans are going to hang their hat on it. They hate Brian Snitker. Yep. They hate Spencer Strider. It's going to be a zoo-like atmosphere. And I really think that's one of the more exciting aspects of it because it is going to be loud and raucous. And they are going to be booing every time Brian Snitker, maybe he comes out for a pitching change. There'll be boo birds. When he gets announced, there'll be boo birds. When Spencer Strider gets announced, there'll be boo birds. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's a highly anticipated opening day. Hopefully it doesn't get rained out, or hopefully it does. We are golfing Thursday, but if it does, we'll
can't tell them that.
We'll be golfing Thursday.
It was an accident. It was an accident.
Anyway, I do want to say, you know, to you Philly fans, I don't know if you saw it, but you guys reacted the exact way I expected you to react to the Brian Snitker news. What you bring up, Braves fans throwing trash onto the field after a bad call. It was a bad call. Making excuses for yelling at women and children and saying like, yeah, we got them, guys. It's just this crazy toxic fan base, and there are bad apples in every single fan base. So if you're one of the good Philly fans, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the guys who are trying to make excuses for talking to women and children like you're trying to talk to a grown man. And it just makes for this rivalry is so much better. We've kind of been spoiled a little bit because 2 years ago, we had this little back and forth with Mets fans. We chased them all the way down from 10.5. Now we've got this rivalry with Phillies fans. I don't know what it is about Braves country, but we just, somehow bring out the worst in people.
It's dominance. It's dominance. When you win 21 of 27 or whatever it is, division titles, people are going to hate you and they want to beat the Atlanta Braves. They want to win the division. I think every true baseball fan knows how important winning a division is. Everyone wants to win the World Series, but everyone really knows that that's kind of a crapshoot. It's why the best teams don't always win. And sometimes you get lucky and you get in there. Look at the Arizona Diamondbacks. I mean, that team was a crap team. They were not good, but they end up in the World Series. I think the Rangers were good, but they win the World Series and they were like the 5th or 6th seed in the American League. So the World Series is not always the best team, but over 162 games, you get to establish and really put your foot on the gas and say, hey, we're more dominant than you. We are the better team. And that's why I think division titles in baseball carry a little more weight than they may be due in other sports. But I agree. I think this Philadelphia and this Braves rivalry is the best in baseball right now. I don't think it's even close. There is genuine animosity between the fan bases, which is common in rivalries, but you have animosity between the players. Orlando Arcia and Bryce Harper last year. Brian Snitker against the Philadelphia fans, Spencer Strider against the Philadelphia fans. You have a great storylines, and beyond that, the Braves have dominated. They have that World Series ring that Philadelphia Phillies are still chasing. They have those 6 straight division titles, but you have a knock on us. You've beaten us the last 2 years. So to make rivalries great, there has to be even like arguments on both sides that make you just kind of hate each other, because we're never going to budge on the fact that we've won a World Series and 6 straight division titles. You're never going to budge on the fact that you've beaten us the last 2 years. And there's this stalemate here. And guess what? To open the season, we get to talk trash to each other. It's what it's all about to me. I think it's great. Now, obviously taking it too far is something that we talked about, but good old-fashioned rivalry banter in sports is why I started this website. It's why I started this show. This is what we love.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you love the highs, the lows, everything in between, the hate, the love, everything that sports brings us. This rivalry epitomizes. It's great for baseball. It's great for sports in general, because when have you really there's always been these, friendly rivalries, I would think, other than maybe like the Dodgers, Astros, Yankees, Astros. But in recent memory, it's just really all friendly banter and everything like this. There's real animosity between these two clubs, between these two fan bases. And I think you nailed it. Like the Mets, we can kind of consider that a rivalry because of the 10.5 games and everything like that. But the reality is the Mets haven't won. The Mets haven't beat the Braves. The Mets don't have that thing over the Braves, whereas the Braves have won. The Phillies have also won. That's what a rivalry is all about. It's about a back and forth, and that's what makes it so great. The MLB did a great job making this the opening day series, the opening weekend series. Knowing the MLB and Rob Manfred, they would have had the opening, in the middle of May or something. But they did a good job this one, especially in Philly. That's the best part, is we're going back to Philly where our season ended. I'm super pumped.
Where both teams' season ended, ironically. Yep. Yes, The Phillies blew a lead against the pesky little Diamondbacks, which I just think is absolutely hilarious. I mean, talk about choking. I mean, it's one thing to lose in the NLDS to a good team. It's another thing to blow a 3-2 lead coming back home against a bad baseball team. I don't want to say bad.
Coming back to the bank, where all you could talk about was like, we just got to win one at the bank. Going back to the bank, and you lose 2. Yeah. So the little snakes.
Yeah. So the snakes aren't going to be so little anymore after signing Jordan Montgomery, which is something we will talk about later in the show. But my final storyline for this series, and I think this is one of the most exciting aspects of every single baseball season, is, and the Braves don't have a lot of new faces because most of the faces are the same. They all come back. They're all signed long-term. But getting to see those guys in their new threads, and I remember when I was a kid playing like MLB 2K or MLB The Show, so being so excited anytime a guy got traded because like, oh my God, I get to use him. It's like you get to see Chris Sale on the bump this weekend for the first time in a Braves uniform. You get to see Jared Kelenic. He's probably going to start the first 2 games against Nola and Wheeler, right-handed pitchers, who, by the way, had a very nice little ending to spring training. See if that can continue. So that's another good storyline. We get to see Adam Duvall back in a Braves uniform, and maybe we see Aaron Bummer, Jesse Chavez, guys we haven't seen in uniform. Tyler Matzik didn't miss all of last season. So that's another very exciting aspect of opening day and having some new guys on the team.
Yeah, outside of just exciting to see these guys finally lace it up in a real game, we get to see Chris Sale, the reason he was acquired. We need some more lefty dominance from the starting pitcher. Let's see what you got, Chris Sale. This is the team that's knocked us out both times the past 2 years. Let's see what you got. Obviously, it's going to put a lot of sail in the winds wins in the sail of the Braves if Chris Sale goes out there and looks dominant against this lefty dominant lineup in the Phillies.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. You put the nail on the head. That's exactly the reason that they went out and got Chris Sale for moments like these. Maybe not the opening day moment, but that always.
This is going to be what's October. I mean, we're going to have to see the Phillies.
Yeah, that's what always brings me back is if we get swept by the Phillies, it's going to be hilarious to see a lot of the people's reactions. Even though it's not really going to matter in the grand scheme of things, it will be absolutely hilarious because people will freak out. It is inevitable. Coming up after the break, should Max Fried take notes from Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery's free agencies?